The wind on Gilgo Beach doesn't just carry the salt of the ocean, it carries the ghosts of the lost. For years, this lonely stretch of sand was two places at once, a peaceful retreat for fishermen and a perfect hiding place for a monster. The secret held until a frantic search for one woman, a daughter, a sister tore the veil away. What they found was not just a body, but a nightmare, a sprawling graveyard for young women the world had tried to forget. This is the story of the Long Island serial killer, a chilling tale of a predator who taunted from the shadows, of the marginalized lives he stole, and of the staggering police failures that left a killer to hunt in plain sight for years, leaving a single haunting question hanging over the dunes. How many more secrets is this wind still keeping? As we journey through this true crime mystery, tap the like button and subscribe to our channel. You won't want to miss a single twist as we unravel what really comes next. The story begins not with a body, but with a desperate search. In May 2010, Shannan Gilbert, a 24-year-old woman working as an escort, had an appointment with a client in the gated community of Oak Beach, a secluded enclave nestled between the Great South Bay and the Atlantic Ocean. She had driven there with her driver, Michael Pack. Around 5 a.m., after leaving the client's house, Shannan began behaving erratically. She banged on a neighbor's door, screaming, "They're trying to kill me," before fleeing into the darkness of the marshlands. Pack tried to find her, as did the police he called, but she had vanished into the thick, inky blackness. Shannan's family, particularly her mother Mari, refused to believe she had simply run away. They pressured the police, convinced she had met with foul play. The Suffolk County Police Department, initially treating it as a missing person case, launched a search. It was December 11, 2010, when police officer John Malia and his cadaver dog, Blue, were scanning the dense, thorny undergrowth along Ocean Parkway, just a few miles from Oak Beach. Blue, a German shepherd with a renowned sense of smell, alerted his handler. There, partially concealed by the brush, was a haunting sight, a set of bones wrapped in a burlap sack. This was not Shannan Gilbert. It was the first of the Gilgo Four. The discovery triggered an intensive search of the area. What happened next was a sequence of grim revelations that stunned the nation. December 13, 2010. Just 2 days later, the search party found 3 more bodies within a quarter-mile of the first. All were young women, all wrapped in similar burlap, all disposed of in the same manner. They were identified as Maureen Brainard-Barnes, 25, last seen in 2007, Melissa Barthelemy, 24, last seen in 2009, and Lynn Costello, 27, last seen in September 2010. Like Shannan, they were all escorts who advertised their services online. The press quickly dubbed the unknown perpetrator the Long Island serial killer, or LISK. The burlap signature, the use of burlap sacks, became the killer's chilling signature. It was a practical choice. Burlap is durable, readily available, and would help contain decomposition and scent, but it also felt archaic, almost agricultural, adding to the killer's mystique. The investigation widens. As spring 2011 arrived, the search expanded. The scope of the horror deepened. Over the next several months, the remains of 6 more people were discovered scattered along the same stretch of Ocean Parkway, bringing the total to 10. These included a female toddler, an Asian male dressed in women's clothing, and other unidentified women. The investigation was now a sprawling, chaotic jigsaw puzzle. Were all these murders connected to one killer? Or was this a dumping ground for multiple predators? The Gilgo Four, however, were clearly linked. They were all petite, all sex workers, all contacted via Craigslist or Backpage, and all killed in a similar window of time. The killer seemed to have a specific type. Perhaps the most chilling glimpse into the killer's psyche came from the case of Melissa Barthelemy. After she disappeared in 2009, her killer used her cell phone to taunt her family. Over several days, he made a series of cold, calculated calls to Melissa's younger sister, Amanda. He would mock her, asking if she missed her sister, and gloat about what he had done. The calls, traced to locations in and around Times Square in Manhattan, showed a bold and cruel individual, someone who derived pleasure not just from the kill, but from the psychological torment that followed. He was arrogant, confident he wouldn't be caught. This wasn't the behavior of a disorganized lunatic. This was someone with a veneer of control, someone who enjoyed the game. While the hunt for the LISK intensified, the original catalyst for the search remained missing. It wasn't until December 2011, over a year after she vanished, that Shannan Gilbert's remains were found in the marsh not far from where she was last seen. The location was significant. It was away from the other burlap-wrapped bodies. The official cause of death was listed as accidental, with the theory being that she drowned in the cold marsh water, disoriented and in a state of panic, possibly exacerbated by drugs. But her family and many observers vehemently disputed this. How could her death be unrelated when she vanished from the very area where a serial killer was dumping bodies? The 23-minute 911 call she made was heavily redacted and revealed a woman in utter terror. Her mother, Maureen Gilbert, became a tenacious advocate, suing for the release of the full tape and pushing the theory that Shannan had fled from a client who was, or knew, the killer. Her death, accidental or not, was the thread that unraveled the horror, and her mother's fight for answers became a central, tragic narrative in the case. The LISK investigation has been plagued by a revolving door of potential suspects and persistent allegations of police corruption and incompetence. Dr. Peter Hackett, the Oak Beach neighbor whose door Shannan Gilbert pounded on, became an immediate person of interest. A doctor with a penchant for inserting himself into the case, he allegedly called the Gilbert family before Shannan's body was found, claiming he ran a private rehab and had seen Shannan. He later denied making the calls. His proximity and strange behavior made him a prime suspect for many, but no concrete evidence linked him to the murders. James Burke, perhaps the most significant obstacle to the investigation, was James Burke, the former chief of the Suffolk County Police Department. A brash and powerful figure, Burke was later convicted in an unrelated federal case for beating a suspect who had stolen a duffel bag from his vehicle and then orchestrating a cover-up. During the LISK investigation, he was accused of hindering the FBI's involvement, refusing to share evidence, and generally running a shoddy, insular investigation. Many believe his corrupt leadership and desire to control the narrative allowed the real killer to escape justice, or at the very least, caused critical leads to grow cold. The architect and others. Other suspects have included a Manhattan architect named John Bittrolf, himself a convicted murderer of 2 women, and a former police officer. The case is rife with online sleuths and theories pointing to a network of powerful individuals, but no arrests have ever been made in connection to the Gilgo Beach murders. The Long Island serial killer case is more than a whodunit, it is a stark portrait of a fractured system. The victims, Maureen, Melissa, Amber, and the others, were women living on the fringes of society. Initially, their disappearances were not investigated with the same urgency as others might have been. They were deemed high risk due to their lifestyles, a label that can, tragically, lessen the perceived imperative for justice. It was only the search for Shannan, a woman who didn't fit the initial victim profile as neatly, that brought their fates to light. 4 years, the case languished. Maureen Gilbert, a warrior for her daughter and the other victims, died a tragic death herself, murdered by another daughter in 2016, a heartbreaking coda to a life consumed by the search for truth. But in 2022, a sudden and dramatic breakthrough reignited hope. A new task force, led by Suffolk County District Attorney Ray Tierney and finally cooperating with state and federal agencies, executed a series of search warrants at a house in Massapequa Park, Long Island. They focused on a man named Rex Hoyerman, a 59-year-old architect. 4 days, investigators combed his property, seizing evidence, including a vault in the basement. In July 2023, the other shoe dropped. Rex Hoyerman was arrested and charged with the murders of Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, and Amber Lynn Costello, 3 of the Gilgo Four. He was named the prime suspect in the murder of Maureen Brainard-Barnes, the 4th. The arrest was the culmination of a meticulous, years-long investigation that utilized DNA evidence from a pizza crust Hoyerman discarded, cell phone data, and witness testimony that placed his distinctive first-generation Chevrolet Avalanche near the scenes of the disappearances. Hoyerman, a hulking, bespectacled man who blended into his suburban surroundings, was the picture of a hidden monster. Neighbors described him as odd but unassuming. He was a family man, a professional who worked in Manhattan. His alleged double life was a classic trope of the most terrifying kind of serial killer, the one who lives next door. The arrest of Rex Hoyerman has provided a seismic shift in a case that many feared would never be solved. It has brought a measure of relief and vindication to the victims' families, who have waited for over a decade for a name and a face to attribute their pain to. Yet, the story is not over. Hoyerman has pleaded not guilty, and the legal process will be long and complex. Questions remain. Is he responsible for the other bodies found along Gilgo Beach? What was his connection to the area? How did he select his victims, and how did he evade capture for so long? The marshes of Gilgo Beach will never seem the same. The wind that blows across them now carries the echoes of lost lives, of a killer's taunts, and of a system that failed for far too long. The story of the Long Island serial killer is a grim reminder that evil can fester in the plainest of sight, and that the search for justice, no matter how delayed, must be as relentless as the tides that wash upon that lonely shore.